There are a lot of very smart, very motivated engineers in China. So you should expect that China will come up with many great things. And they have come up with many great things. Again, and if one looks at the long history of China, also an ancient nation that has invented and developed many things. And for most of actually human history, China has been the most powerful nation on earth. So, I think particularly from, say, the possession of people in China, they simply view China's ascendancy as resuming the normal sort of place in history, which is the most powerful country on earth.
Now, this is actually a true statement from Elon Musk. This is because if you ever try to study Chinese language, like you want to learn how to speak Chinese, you discover that the word China means Zhongguo. That is, Zhongguo means center. Because ancient Chinese, they actually believed that they were at the center of the world and that the whole world revolved around them. And not just that they believed that they were the center of the world, they actually put this in practice because although history books do hide this, China invented gunpowder, not the Europeans. And not just that, the biggest ships in ancient times were built by the Chinese, constructed from the ground up without any outside influence. And if you take ships and minor things, in the past, ships were like aeroplanes. In fact, ships allowed the Europe to be where they are today because without ships, Europe will not have the means to move to India and exploit the market, conquer the people, and take from them. And not just India, Africa, Latin America. In fact, without ships, there probably would be no colonialism, no slave trade. So ships were the most important things in ancient time that even commanded the economy of the ancient humans. So that means that China had the means and capacity to engage in slave trade, but they did not because it is not in their genetics to do that. But let's keep that aside now. You see that because they believed that they were good and they at some point in history were really good and really leading the world in technology. This constant strive to be at the top means that they want to reclaim their rightful place. They believe that the number one country right now should not be America, it should be China. So they are trying to reclaim their rightful place. Now we can understand this mindset. Understand that today, right now, if you look at Africa now, you ask yourself, let's say Nigeria, why is it that people live the way they live? When you come to a community, they don't have light, there is no source of electricity, they don't have good road, and they have bad or dilapidated hospitals. Why is it that these people don't strive to fight the government despite the taxes, despite the living condition? Why is it that they don't try to rebel and fight for a change? Although you can argue that a colonized people will not think towards freedom, but rather towards better conditions. But one reason for this, one strong argument for this is because there has never been a time in history that Nigeria will claim that they have access to good roads. There has never been any time in history. There's no time in history that Nigerians will claim that they enjoy 24-hour light. There is 247, they had light. And not just light, there's never been any time in history that Nigeria can claim that they had a very high-speed railway network. There's never been any time in history that Nigerians can claim that they built the biggest ships in the world. So the lack of this past, and they could have done something if not for colonialism. But colonialism means that you are not building for your nation, you are building to export to European power. So because of this colonialism, and because of the fact that they don't have any robust history, it's almost as if there's nothing to look forward to. Because a 20-year-old guy now who is living in an apartment do not have light, do not have clean water, and do not have proper security. But they don't think beyond this because this has always been the norm since they were given birth to. If they had light, they had electricity, and they had access to all the good things you need, at least a sovereign nation should have access to, they probably will be feeling that, okay, let's say at this point in that time, now all these things are taken away from them because of bad government. They no longer have light, which they enjoyed in the past. They no longer have good hospitals, which they enjoyed in the past, and they no longer had all the railways and infrastructure which they enjoyed in the past, there will be this need or this urge to try to revolt and change the system. Much like when you had access to a good money, you could travel over the world and you live off well. No matter how poor you be in your life, you always feel like you are not at your rightful place, and you always think ahead of your environment. So you always feel like this is not where you belong. So there will be that constant urge to want to improve your condition. On the other hand, people who are born in that society, who are born under that condition, would not think outside the box. So the fact that we didn't have all these good things in the past, the fact that we didn't enjoy some of these things, is actually limiting the way some of us think in this country. Some of us are not thinking outside the box, not exploring options. We are not worried about light. So this is a contributing factor. The environment you are influences how you think. So China striving for the best now is understandable. So thank you very much for watching.